Could happen. So it'll be good. It'll all work out. It'll all work out.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me pull this up after it thinks about it. Oh, it is pouring down rain here. We have a cold front coming through. And it is, I don't know why, but everything just feels slow. Maybe everybody's home today. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's kind of weird. So hold on.
You never know. The weather can definitely impact technology in weird ways.
Yeah, it becomes very strange. I'm going to share screen, share that screen. You share. Okay. Yay. Okay, those are really big. Okay, so, all right. This is the, okay, so this is the, I call it marketing by the numbers. And I'm realizing that actually this is multifaceted. Today, we're specifically talking about audience and attracting an audience to where you're not like going and hunting them down. You're actually going and attracting them because it's so much easier. And I feel like a lot of the times we're spending so much energy in putting ourselves out there and trying to build our list and build our following and all this jazz. And I want to take the pressure off of that because you can do it actually faster by letting go and actually being who you are. And that's one reason why I wanted to go through the profiles, because those particular numbers are all about, you know, who you are and how you connect with the world. So knowing your facets of those profiles actually help you to assimilate exactly what you can be putting out there in a more natural, easy way to attract people on purpose who will buy from you. Versus building a 10,000 list with nobody buying from you. You just have a lot of numbers. So one thing I want you to keep in mind before we get started is that this is just a facet. Your profile is just a piece of you. You're actually your whole chart, and you have the whole chart in you. And this is really the framework for spirit to show up in a human form and to experience this human process, right? So if it doesn't quite resonate with you, say something and we'll talk about it to see if we can't figure out exactly what is not resonating. But a lot of the times there are other things bigger than this particular profile, you know, stream that's really impacting you more than the profile is. And it will show up in different spaces and different time, depending on what's triggering you, what situation you're in. If you have certain conditioning that's making you not want to think a certain way, you're like avoiding something, or there's something that you need to maybe reframe or rewrite. But yeah, so I like the profiles though, because it really helps you to get clear on, ooh, I can let go of this because I don't have to do it anymore. It's amazing how it will help you free up your plate, especially for all of us manifesting generators who like to put everything on our plate. We're just crazy. Okay. So in this class, we're going to cover what is your human design marketing profile. And this is more from my perspective. It is my modification of how I see the profiles through my twisted little brain. We're going to talk about naturally attracting your audience, what they really want from you, and then what can really get in your way, which is, you know, you, but we'll look at it from a profile lens. So your human design profile is actually taken from your chart. A lot of the times in your chart, it will say whatever that profile is. And I think we've gone over it. They are the first two lines when you're looking at your chart. You see the first two numbers on either side. One's in red and one's in black. And this is the number after the dot. So you have 4 gates, sun and earth on both sides. And these are the dots afterwards. It will be the same for the first 2 on either side. And it's interesting, but you start with your right side. So you're looking at your chart, it's your right side first and then your left, not the other way around. So I don't know why that's confusing for people, but I get it all the time. Okay, so profiles through a marketing lens. Okay, so one thing I like about the 1 is, so let me know if this resonates with you, Lisa. As a go-to resource for knowing everything. It's like you guys just need to know everything. All the details, it's like as much information as you can consume, you will consume. Also, my daughter, who's a 5'1", to know where we're going. It's almost like we just need to know what's coming down the pike, what's going to impact us directly. And yeah, so if you ever want to know what's really going on or get details about something, you're going to go find a one profile. Okay.
Yeah,
And
that
then,
resonates. Definitely, I'm 100% like that. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, good to know. And it's good to know that about yourself so that if something comes up, go, oh, I actually know a lot about that. Let me tell you, this is all my research. So yeah, so before you go buy a blender, you need to call Lisa and ask her about it. And then number 2 line, and that is the natural. And what I love about the 2 line is that they tend to be social, but not. I mean, because as you, so the first line is more introverted as you go. And then the 6th line is going to be more extroverted in how they show up in the world. The top 3 and the bottom 3, one's more introverted than the other. And I think it's interesting to have the balance of the 2. But to know that like a 2 line likes being social, but on the flip side, they need to be home for a while to process information. And so when they're done processing, that's when someone calls them and says, hey, you want to go to the mall? And it's allowing yourself to have that alone time, because it allows you to think and wrap your mind around things and process information. And the natural is often sought out for whatever they're really good at. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what they're putting on social media anyway, is what they love and love doing. And so I find that word of mouth marketing, I know word of mouth marketing can work for everybody, but for the natural, it tends to be their go-to number 1. Okay, and so for your 3rd line, so what I love about the 3rd line, and so Aisha, let me know how this feels. You are the explorer and the experimenter. It's like, ooh, I wonder if that'll work. Let's go try it. And sometimes it's hard to not go try it or to wait to try it because you got 5 other things going on at the same time. So there's that. We also tend to have problems stopping when it stops working instead of trying to make it work. Yes. So, and that I think is part of our generator self who's committed, and they're really committed. And it's like, well, when is enough enough? And paying attention to when things really start to fall apart, you need to leave. So, but yeah, but we need to be able to, like, whenever you get stuck, because I love being home as a 3 line, and part of my 5 likes to hide out. I love being home, but when I get stuck, I need to go out in public. It doesn't have to be, you know, in somebody's face. I don't have to go have lunch with someone. I don't have to go, you know, necessarily get involved in anything. I just need to go to the store and kind of mill around where there's other humans, because the energy shifts being in other people's energy, and it makes it easier. Does that resonate, Aisha?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially when you say the explorer part, I'm already like an outdoorsy kind of person anyway. So, and I'm usually the only me that I see out there. So over the weekend, I went caving, wild caving in West Virginia. And of course, I'm the only bee there, and I'm showing all my friends and they're like, who are you? But they also know that that's me, that I do those things. So yeah.
Right. And what's cool about with your marketing style, try it and see was like made for us.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, you want a little sample reading? You want a little snippet of this, you know, like that kind of thing. That is, our clients love that stuff. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, the 4th line. That is the connector. My husband is a 4/6, and oh, good gracious, he does need to know where his next steps are. Like if he lost his job, he would need to know. He would be like manic panic if he did not have something else lined up next. It's just like stressful to not know what the next steps are. But what's interesting is that his network always brings him something. So the minute he puts out that, hey, you know, I just lost my job, or they just closed or relocated, he has like 3 or 4 friends saying, hey, I know somebody who you need to talk to, or let's go to lunch and talk about this. So it's amazing how a 4 line has the resources they don't really realize they have until something happens and then they don't have the next step lined up. I find that often. And that their clients typically come from their network of people that they know or know of know. So a lot of that is also word of mouth, but it's also that social connection. So they're more social than like the 3, the 2, or the 1. Most of the 4s I know like networking groups, especially the 4-6s. Oh, good gracious. Love networking groups. It's interesting. I kind of like to do a giant science experiment about different lines and different marketing strategies, because I think it'd be fascinating to see who works with what. So, and he doesn't have solar plexus defined, and he has G defined, will not defined. He has a natural knack for just talking to anybody. He'll just go talk to anybody. And I often wonder if that is his undefined solar and undefined and his defined G, to where he feels secure and safe wherever he is. That just lets him talk to anybody. So I've opened G and defined solar, and I'm not going up to anybody that I don't know. So I don't know. It's interesting science experiment, right? So 5th lines, which is all of us, which is funny. The fixer. We like to fix things, but also very practical oriented. It's almost like we're a universalizer. We like to translate things into little pieces. So bite-sized pieces are really the best way for us to translate and share information. We just need to be really clear with the expectations up front so that we meet them, but also we don't have someone coming back at the end going, hey, you didn't cover this, or you didn't, I didn't get this out of, whatever. And I think sometimes the 5 also can have us kind of overgiving, because the 5 line is projected. And if you're not being true to yourself, you're going to go out of your way and overextend in order to compensate. And you find yourself not being yourself in order to satisfy someone else's expectation. So it can kind of drain you fast if you're not paying attention to how your energy is going into a situation. Amazing. So do you guys feel like that resonates
Absolutely.
as 5
Absolutely.
lines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're natural teachers. We're here to,
Yeah. That's what I find is that I prior to life coaching, I was teaching yoga and mindfulness, and during the pandemic made the great pivot. But I'm still craving that, like wanting to be in that more of that teaching role. Yeah, that's just where I feel comfortable.
Yeah. Because it's your natural tendency. That's how you naturally connect and communicate. So having like tiny courses, having online classes, having things that really, even just doing little teaching videos you're putting on YouTube, those little snippets of information, if you can get past the technology, because that's the biggest my problem I'm having is technology and understanding how much I say in a minute. And then putting that out there, it's amazing how they need to see you. Really, you got to suck it up and be seen, right? And because ultimately, and we'll talk about this, it's one of the biggest fears of a 5th line is not being authentically seen and heard, because your voice will fall flat. If you say it out of time, it's not the right time to be saying something. And I don't know if this has happened to you before, but you'll say something and it's almost like you didn't say it. Or the person hearing it completely misconstrues it. And it's like, what the hell? I don't know how much plainer I can put it. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, that is one of the challenges I have with like social media. It's like there is an audience. It's almost like there isn't, It's like if you're not, unless you're getting that engagement, it's like you're just talking into the wind,
into air.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
I have no idea how, if anyone was listening. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one way I've gotten around that, or given myself peace of mind is that when I'm doing a video, I have a specific client in mind. And basically I focus on telling her the information. So I'm specifically talking to that client and sharing that information, and talking to the one person, because I get overwhelmed with the emotion of talking to the masses. Being on stage is the kiss of death for me. Okay. So videos though allow me to record it. And if I don't like it, I can delete it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that satisfies my fifth line and my third line, being able to delete. It's brilliant. So going and doing a Facebook Live puts panic in me, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to have to put myself out there and be, yeah. So I totally understand that. But talking to the one person and recording it allows me to speak specifically, and I usually have a clearer train of thought. I download information better, and I'm more articulate when I'm downloading and focusing on one person. So that's a try. And so let's see, with the sixth line, I love six lines because quite simply, they are the role model. And what's funny is that a lot of the times they don't even realize they're on a mission. You know, unless they're really spiritually awakened, they don't realize that they're sometimes almost pushing to achieve something. And sometimes they don't even realize what it is, especially if the six is unconscious. So I was talking to my husband about this, and he was like, so do you feel like you're a role model on a mission? And he goes, no. I'm like, do you want me to rephrase that? And he goes, no. And I was like, okay. And so, but he does lead by example, and he is coming off the roof. So it's interesting how he will shift over the next few years and become more of a person to be, you know, watched, and patterned after. And so he does want to lead a life that other people will want to follow. He does want to lead by example, especially for our children. And I just think it's interesting how it comes up differently for all of us. It's just fascinating. I just love it. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. All right, attracting your ideal audience. Okay, so talking about how to share. Okay, how to share. So again, you need to share in a way that feels good and comfortable. Don't worry about what the trend is, and don't worry about what everybody else is. Screw that. It needs to be something that you feel pulled to do. So how many have a defined G? Anybody have a defined G?
I do.
Okay. Aisha, you define G or not? The yellow in the middle.
The yellow in the middle.
Is it yellow?
I see yellow. It is. I see yellow on the chart. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's
yep,
defined.
you're defined. Yeah, you're defined.
I'm defined. Okay.
Yep, you're defined. Okay, so defines are awesome. Okay, so defines are really more about, if it feels fun, you should do it. Really, you got to follow the fun. And if it's not feeling fun, shit's not going to land. They're not going to hear you. It's not going to be heard by the right people. It's going to be just exhausting. So yeah. So being able to share what you're pulled to share, there's a reason. So really with sharing, it's all about being in the moment. Something lights you up, something grabs your attention, right? You've got that sacral response. Hey, Viva. And so it's really about you doing you and allowing that to be enough. So many times we feel like we're not doing enough, we're not sharing enough, we're not asking enough. And I mean, you have to just follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, you're just offering information without expectation. You are just offering it to offer it because you feel like you need to tell them. You're not looking for likes. You're not asking them to respond or share or comment. None of that crap. You're just putting it out there. If they respond, great. And you can respond to that. But if they don't, because it's getting in a habit of tuning into yourself to create instead of creating because someone else said that's what you're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to change your dynamic and the energy that comes out of your mouth. Your words will have different weight when you do it, when it's in alignment with who you are. And that's what's going to attract the correct audience for you, the aligned audience for you. Because your wisdom and your words, I mean, one thing about being who we are is that we have to speak in our own words, in our own way, in our own emotion. And that energy fuels who you connect with, right? And it's something where you cannot articulate what someone else said. It won't land. People won't hear you. It won't be understood. It'll be a waste of energy. It's got to be your own. So if you want to talk about this cool thing about manifesting generators, which is we all are, is that we can talk about anything. We don't have to stay focused on one thing. We're not generators. We might get in a mood to where all we're eating is apples for a week. That's great. But when it comes to our marketing, we can share, oh, you know what? I think I heard my plant talk. Well, maybe you need to share that if you feel like other people need to hear that. So it's paying attention to what you're pulled to share, what feels fun and what feels light. And that's what you need to be sharing. If you have a lot of resistance around it, like, well, it's a good idea, but I can't understand. I can't write down the words. They're not just coming to me. When I write something that feels all clogged, when I talk about it, I feel like I don't have enough information. I'm stumbling over my words. I can't seem to push send. That's because your sacral saying, hey, it's a great idea, but your root and probably your intuition saying, well, wait a minute, might not be the right time. Root might be going, wait. So, because intuition, our spleen typically tells us, hey, something's coming, right? And in the moment, it'll say, yeah, hey, we're good. So sacral will always tell you and light up and say, hey, this is awesome. Pay attention to this. Versus root's going to say, well, wait a minute. It's not quite the right time. Hey, wait a minute. And then when you share it, just share it. But you'll know because it'll feel like a clip. It'll feel like, oh, all of that anxiousness and weight went away. Now I can share it because now I feel very clear about what I'm saying. The words are just coming to me and I feel very strong and confident in what I'm putting out there because that's the right time. Does that make sense? I've seen a lot of struggle lately with sacral telling you it's a great idea and then a great opportunity. And then, but there's a doubt, like a resistance to whether we should push the button or not.
Yeah.
And that's because it's not the right time.
I have had that. I think I told you about that in our talk.
Mm-hmm.
Having that, it's having that knowledge that I want to try something and wanting to put that out there,
Mm-hmm.
but instantly it's like, bam, I meet with this block and I'm constantly trying to figure out what is the point of the block. And if it's not timing,
Mm-hmm.
I've never considered it not being just not the right time. Still
Right.
the right message, still the right attempt, still the right medium, etc., but just not the right time.
Yeah. A lot of times
I've never considered that.
Yes, that's why we get crickets. It's because we have brilliant ideas. Brilliant. Oh my God, they're brilliant, right? And sometimes they're not completely baked. There's a piece that we're missing. We just haven't gotten to it yet, right? But the information's coming in. We're channeling it from spirit, from higher self. And so it's time to put it down. We need to get it out, clear the pipe so more stuff can come in, right? But it's not the right time if we can't fully articulate what it is that we want to share in a way that feels very open and connected. Fully baked. If it's not quite baked, stick it on the oven, on the back burner, it'll come back. It's amazing because piece will pop in and you'll be like, oh, it's time to share all of that. I wrote all that stuff and created all that stuff and now it's time to put it out there. And that's exciting. But there's nothing more disappointing than creating all that stuff and it goes, it's just depressing. Okay, so, and that goes into, what you share is what feels good, right? It feels great. It feels connected. It feels light and airy. And it feels like this is the moment to put it out there. There's no resistance. You have complete fluidity of words. It's like you just download it all and you can go back later and read through it, go, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I'm going to add this and we're going to put it out there. And it's just putting it out there, right? Whenever you feel it's the right time. No resistance, right? So yeah, so if you feel like you're swimming uphill to try and push something out, that's a no. Because you're pushing something out. We don't push. Pushing
Yeah.
is no, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you're getting frustrated, that's because you're too close and you put it down and walk away. Go pet your cat. Go play outside in the dirt, come back.
Mhm.
Okay, when it pops back into your head. Okay. And then, yeah, that's a great way of letting go. And a letting go is not necessarily ditching it. Let me be clear. Letting go is not ditching it. Letting go is letting it go for a minute, letting it sit. It's almost like letting it rest, right? Giving yourself a rest. Because we work in bursts. We do not work all the time. We are not generators. We have generator tendencies, but we also have manifester tendencies. We're a crossbreed. So we work in a burst and then we don't. We need to rest, do something else, probably more fun. And then come back when it's all you can think about. It's like, ooh, new words, new ideas, new thoughts for this thing. I'm coming back to it and you'll just download it. I mean, should I downloaded a book in 48 hours? Totally possible. And it was exhausting, but it came out. It just took me 9 months to get it to the point of publishing. But that's something else. That's work. Okay, so what's really holding you back from getting more sales? Because you have to ask. I'm just saying. And a lot of the times getting in our way of asking is we have all of our profiles have fears that really hang us up. And so translating the fear into what you really need is essential, because then you're like, oh, so I'm putting myself in this situation to where, you know what, I really don't want to do this because, I fear this. Well, okay, you know that now because of your profile. And this is how to get through it. We'll go through each one. One's fear of the unknown. Oh my gosh. So one reason why you like information is because it makes you feel secure. You feel happy when you know. When you don't know, it's like, oh, I don't know. And it can almost like create panic. I know in my daughter, who's a 5'1", if she doesn't know where we're going to dinner, it's a problem. Like she will be out of sorts until someone tells her. And my husband just thinks she's a busybody. And it's like, no, she actually needs to know. It makes her feel secure. So, because ultimately what you want are answers. You want to know what's next, right? And what do you do when you can't have the answers? You don't know where they are. They haven't shown themselves yet. Because a lot of the times it's timing, right? The answer will show up when you let go of it and focus on something else. So being sacredly defined, that's an ask. It's like, okay, guys, let me know what I'm supposed to know next. What's next? Bring it to me. It's relying on your sacral to bring it in. It's trusting that energetic process. That is your strategy and your authority, is to ask. We forget to ask. Because the universe usually doesn't bring it to you until you ask. Or it's really slow. Really, really slow coming. So if you want to hurry it along, ask. It helps. Lisa, do you find yourself in this pickle?
Yeah, definitely. I think I like the asking, for what's next and just kind of waiting instead of, I think what I've been doing is like, well, I'm totally in my experiment right now. So, I'm like trying different things, but yeah, definitely I've been in a habit of initiating and going out and making things happen, or trying to figure out what's next instead of just waiting for what shows up. And that, that's a dance. I'm definitely getting better at noticing that, but it's a whole new way of really interacting with the world.
It is. It's like you're retraining yourself, man. Oh yeah. Because we're really good at getting our own way. Oh my gosh, we're really good at making it hard. Oh, it's most of what I deal with is how to get out of your own way. Woo. We're so good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 lines. Fear of being alone for too long. Okay. So yeah, you need to withdraw as 2 lines. And Aviva's a 2-4. Is withdrawing so that you can concentrate and think about everything that you just experienced, right? They love the experience. But to come home and contemplate it and then go, oh, so now I got some good ideas and some new ideas. Let me put these down. And they're worried that people are going to forget about them because they're home by themselves, you know, in their cubby holes. And people will seek them out when it's time for them to come back out into the world. And they've got to trust that process. Trust the process that when it's time to go out, you will know, right? And I know for Viva, she is an explorer too. She likes to be out and travel and be someplace else than home. So, quarantine was like prison. So it's being able to have that freedom, I think, to go out when you feel pulled to go out. Whether you're going camping or you're going to the store, you have to have that freedom of going, okay, I've thought about this completely. I'm complete. I need to go out. So it's interesting to have that process, to be very present with what you need and to allow yourself to stay home until you're done baking whatever it's been and then go back out into the world when you're ready. The 3rd lines. Okay, Aisha. So fears failing. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, it's like, well, man, that sucked. Well, this is what I learned. And really what it is for us is really knowing that you can't fail. You just figured out what didn't work and can tell everybody else about it. Right. And really the key here is learning what it is the lesson was. So you don't repeat it because that means you didn't learn it. Right. And really understanding what the message was behind it. So that's what happens when something really goes to crap for me. I ask, okay, so what's the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn? What do I need to know in order to not do this again? Right. And it helps to shift that perspective and it allows me the freedom to try it, knowing that there's something here I need to know, whether it's this really worked or this really didn't. There's something here I need to know. And it gives me permission to do it. So, yeah, but there's some rewriting to go with a lot of that. Because my dad did not understand that. So, yeah, there's conditioning there, I'm sure. But yeah,
definitely.
we don't fail. We just figured out not to do that again. Just hope it's not detrimental. That's pretty much where we are. As long as you don't die, you're good, right?
There you go. Exactly.
Right? I mean, hello, cave dweller. I mean, shit. I mean, you're climbing cave walls. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so fourth lines. So 4th lines, you're losing. Oh my gosh. And it's losing connection, it's losing resources, it's losing all sorts of stuff, losing the game. And it's funny to see this in 4s. But yeah, that and not knowing what the next step is. And the next step thing is really for big decisions and big things, right? Big life-changing things. And I find this interesting that it's really a trusting game. It's like trusting that universe will support you, trusting that what you need will come, right? And that a lot of the times it's allowing is the hardest thing a 4 can do, is to allow and to let go and just be focused on what's in front of you instead of all this other stuff that it could be, right? Because 4s will tend to come up with something, a strategy for the right now, which is great. It'll make you feel safe, but be open to receive what's coming in because you're not really watching for it necessarily because you don't know what it is. So going back and asking, it's again asking, okay, guys, what's my next step? I need you to bring it to me. And don't be surprised that talking to one of your people that you know, they're going to say, hey, so-and-so's got such and such, you want it. It's amazing how people, I mean, my girlfriend, she's a projector, she's a 4'6", and she's like talking to me about how she wanted a new bike for her daughter who grew from 5'2" to 6'2" in a year, which is nutso. Anyway, so Ella grew so tall and her bike no longer fit her. I mean, it was like she was riding on a clown car bike. It was tiny. It was rather comical to watch. Her knees are like hitting her hands. It was horrible. And so Angie's like, hey, you know, I would love to have another bike for Ella that was like a big kid, you know, like a grown-up bike. She's like, but you know, maybe Christmas, you know. And this was spring break of COVID, the beginning of COVID. And we're all stuck at home, and what are we going to do? So she's like, yeah, Ella needs a bike so she can ride around because right now there's nothing else to do. And when you know it, she takes a phone call from a business friend of hers, and he's like, hey, he's like, my wife passed and we don't know what to do with her bike. Do you know of anybody who could use one? And it's like Ella's favorite color. It's even got flat tires on it, so she can't fall over as bad, you know, because she was not graceful to begin with. So putting her on a bike was kind of asking for it. But it's interesting that it came up like 2 days later. And it's just putting it out there, right? But that's your network of resources supporting you. And so for 4 lines, it's all about trust. Gotta trust it. Don't we all have to trust it on some level, in some way? Okay, 5 lines. The fear of not being seen or heard. Okay, so how many of us have defined throats? All of us have defined throats, right?
Mm.
Yeah, all defined throats because
Yeah.
you're manifesting generators. Yeah. So do you have it to where when you say something wrong at the wrong time, it almost sounds like it's going through like an echo chamber? Does anybody
Yeah.
else have that? It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't resonate or something?
Or
Goes
when
all-
it gets bad feedback, I can feel the shift in the energy, and I was like, ooh, oh, I wasn't supposed to say that right then.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And evidently that is us being clairaudient as well as being defined throat, because we have a natural ability to speak when it is when we're in the process of basically manifesting, because that's all those are manifested channels. So it's interesting though to have that reverb though, and it's only happened to me a couple of times, and I'm like, oh, that did not land well. It's not going to land. This is not going to go well
Mhm.
after saying it. And it's almost like I get like a pause. It's almost like something inside of me goes, wait a minute, don't say that. Don't say that. And here's me going, I'm gonna say it anyway. You know, and it's meow, wow, wow, wow. Yeah, it's great. It's great. But also, I don't know why, but for me, I tend to want to fill the space with words. Being silent with people, I feel like I need to have conversation going, and it's hard for me to just allow space in conversation. I feel like I need to constantly have words filling in the spaces. And sometimes I just don't know what to talk about because I don't know you, right? So it's interesting though to have those conversations or to have someone show up around you who loves to talk. It's like all of a sudden someone turned on the faucet and they will not shut up. And I find it in the car with the kids. We'll pick up my son and his best friend from school, and it's like both of them, little hens, chatty Cathy's in the back seat telling me all sorts of stuff that, you know, they're throwing parents under the bus. They're doing all sorts of stuff back there. It's amazing. Everything that went on at school, they're telling me. And it's amazing. I just think it's just hilarious to watch. And then they just kind of peter out and they're good. It's like they just need to get the pressure out.
Mhm.
So with 5th lines, I find that we really need to trust you are meant to say what you're meant to say when you're pulled to say it, instead of just blurting everything that just comes out of your head. There's got to be some filter somewhere, right? But when you feel like you're not being seen and heard, my question usually to myself is, okay, so who am I not recognizing who needs to be seen and heard? Because all of this information goes both ways, right? You're putting it out there, but also it's being received. So I've just noticed that with the 5th line. Like, are you speaking your truth? Are you speaking someone else's words? Is it the right time? Because I have the 1222 channel from solar plexus. So basically I help people articulate emotion, speak their truth, their emotional truth. So really the best thing for 5s is to be you. I know it's kind of crazy hard. What does that really mean? But it's speaking that truth and being okay with whatever that is. And you have to trust in timing. You so have to trust in timing. You guys feel like that? I know, because for Lisa, that's something she does, she's conscious of, right?
Yeah. Yeah, timing and
The right words.
yeah, just saying the right thing. And then it's also, you know, I'm just not used to not having an audience. So that's different for me. It's like, okay, I don't know if, you know, like in a room with people, you can tell if people are, you know, there's engagement, there's a response.
Mhm.
So yeah, speaking into the void is not my strength.
Mhm. Right. And honestly, I mean, then maybe it's not. I mean, because there's 3 different kinds of communication style, and that's actually in the tiny course that is part of this tiny course. But it's the, you know, letting your work speak for itself, articulating, which is talking, versus physically being seen, which is an energy draw. So, you know, it might be better for you. You might become more comfortable writing. You might be more comfortable reading slides and doing voiceover and teaching that way.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah. Okay, so 6 lines. I love 6 lines. Their fears, their biggest fear is not fulfilling their purpose, or they don't have a purpose. Oh, good God. It's like the world is ending. I mean, that's really how they feel. And that they're not being their best self. That's their biggest fear. And so it's really trusting that by being you, you're fulfilling your purpose and you're doing you correctly. And again, it's that not allowing outside information to change who you are, but you have to know who you are. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard. And we all have life lessons and stuff to learn. So, it can get complicated. But if it doesn't feel right, you shouldn't be doing it. It's really a basic rule of thumb. But so many times there are things that we're not connected to emotionally, we're not connected to spiritually. It's hard to trust when we don't know what to trust. So ultimately, it's back to strategy and authority and asking, right? I mean, even projectors can ask. Spleen is like a mini sacral for projectors. Your spleen will pop in and say, or yeah, do that. So yeah, sacral's not a hell yeah, not the right time. Mental note. Okay, so do you guys have any questions? Is there anything I didn't cover? Yeah, questions?
No, this is really good.
Okay, so do you feel like you have the information you need to really start attracting the right people to you instead of pursuing? Do you still feel your need to pursue an audience?
I definitely need to try out, because I'm also new to human design.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still understanding the manifesting generator, the profile, and all that stuff. So I'm actually feeling like my tarot shadow work practitioner business is kind of asking for something else
Mm-hmm.
to kind of tie it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like it's something physical that is needed, like something that actually has to do with the body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is yet. So, but I do know that there's something there, and
Mm-hmm.
this is helping me identify how to build, connect with that, and also continue to build an audience. Because right now, YouTube videos, I'm kind of what what Lisa was saying. I am speaking to the void, which I'm comfortable with, because sometimes the void will speak back, hopefully. But but as a shadow, someone I'm okay with doing that, because for me it's like an open journal, and I can just say the things, and if someone likes it or doesn't like it, it's YouTube. I can delete it, I can cut the comments off, blah blah blah.
Right.
But yeah, this is definitely changing and reshaping my business for the better. So I'm really happy with this.
Cool. Yeah. So manifesting gender in business, that's its own bottle of wax. It is. But yeah, but you're also like other things that are tied to the profiles, because we only have so much time. But other things that are tied to the profiles are like, well, is it meant to be like physical energy? Is it meant to be your voice? Is it meant to be are you meant to work on a cellular level? I don't remember where that information is, but there are different, your profile will also dictate that. Also, depending on what lines things show up in your chart, to where, like when I do a marketing session, we look all at your chart on how you are supposed to really connect and communicate with the world, but also show up in your business. Looking at like your Mercury, and looking at both of those particular profile lines on your Mercury will tell us exactly how you're supposed to communicate those messages. Those gates have information in them, right?
Yeah, I'm laughing because you said Mercury. I know my Mercury is Taurus, and all the other things are like Aries, which is like boom, boom, boom in your face. So,
yeah,
but slowly in your face, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, because Taurus is stubborn is a good way of putting it.
Yes, absolutely a good
dig in your heels and go, nope. But yeah, so all of the gates on your chart will show all the little dot numbers are all profile numbers, and all of those profile numbers influence those gates. So it's like, so that gate and how it's articulated basically is what the profile is doing for that gate. So it might be the gate of shock, but if it's a 2 with the gate of shock, or if it's a 3 with the gate of shock, you experiment with shocking. Does that make sense? So I love how those profile numbers, and now that you know them, you can go through and kind of translate your chart to see exactly what it is. Like personality Jupiter, that is very business oriented systems and design. That's how you're meant to create a team. Or are you meant to work with entrepreneurs? That's actually in your Jupiter. But you have to look at that gate, because that gate and the profile line will influence how that shows up. So it's just fascinating, all the information that's in your chart, and what it can tell you. Like your moon is your drivers, your sun and your earth, the first 2 on each side. That's really, it's going to, 70% of your energy is in those 4 pieces, but that's your incarnate cross. That's your bigger overall purpose of what you're supposed to do. And a lot of the times we're so worried about being on purpose, because I've got crisis of meaning in my chart, and also in my hands. And it's interesting because it's like, well, if you're just doing what you're pulled to do, and you're doing what shows up, and you're responding, and it feels good and feels fun, then it actually will be on purpose. And it's interesting how I always felt like I needed to pick one thing. And as manifesting generators, that's like the kiss of death. So having multiple things chosen allows us, like 3 to 4 pillars, allows us to rotate so that we have variety. And we can do what we feel pulled to do. If we're going to teach a class on talking to plants, then knock yourself out, but you have to allow yourself the space to do that. And I think it's interesting because every time I've looked at an incarnate cross and people are telling me, well, this is what I'm being pulled to do. It's like, well, yeah, it completely fits under your incarnate cross. I mean, when I first connected to my spirit team, I was obsessed with knowing what my purpose was. And they came back to me with, I'm here to help guide and assist others to become more self-aware. And it's like, really? That's it? That's pretty broad. And that's really your incarnate cross is very similar in that fashion, right? It's like, okay, I can fit like 10 businesses underneath this one incarnate cross, really. And it's just how we're designed. So yeah, knowing your chart is huge with just being, responding, knowing what to put energy into and what not to put energy into is really key. So yeah, I just can't recommend it enough. It's like the one modality that I feel has translated a lot of things that didn't make sense before,
Yes. Yeah.
you know? So yeah. Lisa, how do you feel? Do you feel like that with human design?
Oh yeah, I feel like it's like a decoder key,
Mhm.
you know, it's like it gives you this whole other lens of kind of understanding how you work and then how you interface with the universe.
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I love it. I'm new to it since 6 months probably. So
Mhm.
I've taken the deep dive, and I also love the depth of it, that there's there's so much to learn. It's very meaty, right?
Yes.
There's like so much to it.
Mhm.
So I love that it's like, I know that I'll always be learning. It'll always be teaching me. So
Mhm.
I'm appreciating that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that satisfies your one, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah,
Like
this
yeah.
class was really helpful. It really helped me kind of see how I'm going to do my marketing, or how to do marketing in based on my profile, and more, I could see doing it more of like as like a teaching, little bits of information. So yeah, I really appreciate it. It helps me. It feels like I'm wearing my own marketing hat instead of like wear the marketing hat of the marketing gurus and all that stuff. So
Right.
yeah, so thank you. This was very helpful.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will send you guys the recording if you want to listen to it again. I don't furiously take notes, so I like to listen to it again. And then also I'll send you a little review. If you guys would give me some feedback, that would be great.
Awesome.